Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Arjuna Vacha Jayasi Chit Karmanate Mata Buddhi Janardana Tat Kim Karmani Gohemam Nitya Josi Keshavaha.
Arjuna said, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want to engage with me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work?
Text 2. Vyami Shrineva Vakyena Buddhim Mohayasiva me Tadekam Vada Nishchitya Yena Shreyo Hama Nuya.
My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me.
Text 3. Shri Bhagavana Vacha Lokeshmin Divi Vittaha Nishta Pura Praptaha Mayanagaha Jnana Yogana Sankheyam Karma Yogena Yoginam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service.
Text 4. Na karmananam anarabham naishkarmayam puruso snute nacha sanyasanad eva siddhim samadhigacchati.
Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection.
Text 5. Nahi kaschit kasham api chatutishthate akarma krit karyatehi avashyaha karma sarvaha prakriti cha gunaha.
Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment.
Text 6. Karmani indriyani sanyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudatna mithyachara sa uchate.
One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender.
Text 7. Yate Yatu Indiani Manasaha Yama Abrate Arjuna Karmandyanaha Karma Yogam Astaha Sa Vivasyate.
On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior.
Text 8. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma ya jyayo ya karmana sharira yatrapi chatena prasiddho ta karmanaha.
Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work.
Text 9. Yagnatrat karmano antra loko yam karma bandanaha tad atam karma kunteya mukta sankaha samsarjara.
Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain free from bondage.
Text 10. Sahayagna praja shustva puro vacha prajapati anena prasa vishyadvamesha vostib vashta kama dukkha.
In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all creatures sent forth generations of men and demigods. along with sacrifices for Vishnu, and bless them by saying, "Be thou happy by this yajna sacrifice, because its performance will bestow upon you everything desirable for living happily and achieving liberation."
Text 11. Devan bhavayata te devaha bhavayatu parasparam bhavayataha shraya param avapasyata.
The demigods, being pleased by sacrifices, will also please you, and thus, by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all.
Text 12. Istan boga hivo deva dasyante yagna bhavita taidratan apradhyai pyo yo bhunakte stena evasa.
In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna sacrifice, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief.
Text 13. Yagnasista sinasanto mukyante sarvakil visaha punjate devis papa ye pankante atmakaranartat.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Text 14. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhava yagnat bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samutbhavaha.
All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, and yajna is born of prescribed duties.
Text 15. Karma brahmo bhavam viti brahmakshak samubhavam tasmat sarva katan brahma nityam yagne parishtitam.
Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice.
Text 16. Evam pravartitam chakram nanu vartayati hayat agayu rindriya ramo mogam partha sajivati.
My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas certainly leads a life full of sin, living only for the satisfaction of the senses. Such a person lives in vain.
Text 17. Yastvam atma ratve eva sayad atma trapastascha manavaha atmane eva cha santus tatas tasya karyam navidyate.
But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty.
Text 18. Naivetasya krutenartho na kruteneha kaschana nacha sya sarvabhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashrayaha.
A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being.
Text 19. Tasmat asataka satatam karyam karma samachara asapto hi achan karma param apnoti purushaha.
Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, or by working without attachment, one attains the supreme.
Text 20. Karmanaiva hi sansiddhim asthita janakadayah lokasangraha mevapi sampashyan kartum arhasi.
Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work.
Text 21. Yat yat acharati sahastha tat tat evetato gyanaha sayat param namaha kurute lokatat anuvrate te.
Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
Text 22. Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptyam varta eva cha karmani.
O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Very nice recitation, Girish Prabhu, for the first time. It's very impressive. I couldn't believe that you are reciting it for the first time and in front of so many people so confidently. So thank you very much. Wonderful recitation from Girish Prabhu, Falguni Mataji, and Andrew Prabhu as usual. He's always good. So thank you very much. Today we are discussing the second verse of this chapter. So before we start, let me do prayers. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhasya kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Kam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamam mande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances to all assembled devotees here. I seek your blessings before I present some explanation on this verse. It was a very short notice that Divyanam Prabhu asked me to if I could cover. So if I get stuck somewhere, please seek your help to guide me. So this chapter is named Karma Yoga. Krishna is talking about what Karma Yoga is in this chapter. And in general, when people discuss about Bhagavad Gita and they're asked, what does Bhagavad Gita mean? Or tell me one verse from Bhagavad Gita. Normally, a verse that is very common, especially in India, is Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So normally people have understanding that Bhagavad Gita is about karma. And the understanding is not fully complete because the understanding is that you do your duty, do good, be good, That's the understanding. But Bhagavad Gita, as we know, is beyond just be good, do good kind of understanding that we see in all different religious faiths. Bhagavad Gita starts from a point that you are not this body, you are spirit, soul, and if we analyze in this world, we see mainly two type of beings, living and non-living. So if you are sitting in a room and you look around, whatever you see moving has life in it, and whatever you see not moving is material object. So if there is a little fly, a little ant in your room, then and it is moving, then obviously that is living thing, and it has a spirit, soul inside. So Bhagavad Gita is not a Hindu religious book. It is a science of self-realization, the science of soul, as we know. And in the same way, karma and karma yoga, they are two different things. Now, karma is, when something good or bad happens to someone, people normally now use this word, oh, this is my karma. Or most likely something bad happens, then people use this word, oh, this is karma coming back to you. So what is the difference between karma and karma yoga? So by definition, karma means something that you do good. There are three things that are described in this chapter later on. Karma, akarma, and vikarma. So karma is pious activities or activities which are performed in line with scriptural injunction. They are called karma, and karma has positive returns. So like people do charity runs, donations, helping selflessly, serving food to poor and needy people. So these all good activities that are called karma. And for karma, we get pious credits. And these pious credits have to be used by going to heaven, heavenly planets, and we get positive returns, material returns. There is second thing is called vikarma. Vikarma means they are impious activities, or like conducting cruelty, killing animals, inflicting pain to someone. That doesn't necessarily to animals, also to human beings, speaking harshly. That is also a kind of cruelty. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we should always speak anudvega karam vakyam, speak in a way that does not agitate anyone's mind. Always pleasant, sweet words, and pleasing to someone. And then one may think, so what then if the news is not pleasant, then how do we speak pleasantly? But still, there is a way we can make it the most pleasant in our capacity before we say that. So vikarma means impious activities, cruelty, or anything that can has a negative impact. So just like if you do vikarma, then we see, person can have hellish punishments or hellish activities, stealing or whatever, we categorize that as vikarma. And there is third thing, which is normally not discussed a lot in different faiths, and which is called akarma, which is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Akarma means acting for the pleasure of Lord, and that actually burns all your positive karma and negative karma. Now one may think, okay, good, burning negative karma, I understand, but why is it burning positive karma? I want positive karma so I can have something good in return. But the problem is that we are spirit souls and we belong to spiritual world. We belong to Krishna Loka, and we want to go back to our original position, because until that time we will not feel satisfied. So we are, if you see in this material world, people are trying very hard. Everyone is trying very hard to become happy, but somehow it is seen that no matter how much money we have or relationships we have, how much we try to enjoy, end of the day we feel unhappy and dissatisfied. And we may think, why is it happening? I try to do by my best, try to get good holidays, but by the time I come back from holiday, something happens, the flight is delayed, or flight is missed, something, and everything is ruined. So anyone you speak and say, how was your holiday? Oh, everything was good apart from one thing, this wasn't right. But the thing is, this world will never satisfy us fully, because this world is created in such a way by Lord that it constantly reminds us that this is not a perfect place for me to live. So just like a fish out of water, we will always feel that something is missing. Now, heavenly planets or hellish planets or whatever are different planets, there are 14 planetary system, 14 planets in this one universe according to Srimad Bhagavatam. All these 14 planets, starting from planet of Lord Brahma to Patal Loka, there are 14 planets. Everywhere there is a different level of enjoyment. So higher planets, there are weathers are more pleasant, life is long, people are much more beautiful looking, and there is no old age, there is no fatigue. People in heavenly planets, in Swargaloka, they don't take birth as babies, they are born as grown up, youthful individuals. They take birth and their bodies are beautiful, fragrant, and as soon as they take birth, they have a beautiful garland around their neck with fragrant flowers. And this garland stays fresh all their life. It doesn't wilt. And their bodies don't get old. No matter how much exertion their body has, it does not sweat or it does not smell. There's no odors from their bodies. And they eat very pure and, very divine food. Um, in comparison to heavenly planets, when they come to earthly planet, they look like the dirtiest slum. That's why when demigods they come to earthly planet, they don't normally walk they don't touch the ground, they float in the sky. They don't want to touch because they think it's extremely filthy place to live. And they have everyone, there's so much opulence that everyone has their own planes, and these planes are not like our planes here. These planes travel with their own desire. So if mind wants to go from here to there, it goes, it expands, it contracts. So if 50 people want to travel, the plane will become for 50 people. 1,000 people want to travel, then it will become 1,000 people. It will accommodate 1,000 people. Or if one person wants to travel, it can be like a small, one person's carrier. So there is the advancement of happiness, or this life is much more enjoyable in these planets. Even some of the hellish planets, they have so much opulence, so much beauty, and that even heavenly planets are not matched to them. But all these people from all these planets have suffering. They have always anxiety of death, they have always anxiety of end of their life. And one thing is common, that after a certain period of time, then they have to give up that position, and there is always a fear of what will happen next. So it is like a karma is like, suppose you have saved up a lot of money, and then you booked a holiday which is to go to, say, Dubai, and living in 7-star hotel on some beach, Jumeirah beach, and for a period of time. So as long as your booking or your money has facilitated that booking, you can stay there happily. Everyone will treat you nicely. As soon as you reach there, there will be limousine coming to pick you up from the airport, take you to hotel. They will greet you, garland you, take you to your room. You can nicely live in that room. All three meals are served. Breakfast. Tata will give you. So all three meals are served and everyone is there for your service. But as soon as your day, the last day of booking is over, and if it is your checkout time, then you say to them, "Oh, sorry, by the way, I really like here. I want to stay for another month." So then their bellboys will come and show you where to go. So so your credits are exhausted. As soon as they're exhausted, you have to return. So good karmas are dangerous in a way that it leads you to a destination which ultimately gives more pain. Because with good karma, we get to go to places which are higher planets, and in higher planets, once these good karmas are exhausted, then we have to come back to this place, and which is very painful. If you have seen people who suddenly have higher income, their standard of life changes. So before, if someone is buying buying products and commodities which are basic range, and then suddenly they become rich, they start using Waitrose and M&S and everything. All different standard of life changes, their cars change, their house change, everything. And suddenly if they have a setback in life, it's very difficult to adjust back. If we all have experienced that. Once we have increased our salaries, then if someone says, okay, now it's time, you'll have a cut in your salary, it's like very painful to adjust back to the lower standards. So once we have a taste of a higher standard, it is very difficult to then set to the lower standards again. So similarly, once someone goes to heavenly planets, it's very difficult to come back to this earthly planet and live here with so much misery. Now here, if you see, there's so much misery. There is everything here is painful. uh, and everything is limited. So anywhere in these worlds, there is no satisfaction. The real satisfaction is by going to spiritual world, by getting our spiritual bodies back into spiritual world. That's when a person will feel real, home, back home, back to Godhead. That's what Prabhupada explains, uses the terminology, we're going back home, back to Godhead. So home is the only place where you go once, you won't feel like coming back, because that is where our real relationships are with Krishna, with Radharani, and with all the devotees. Now, once we go there, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Krishna says so confidently, that is the only abode where once we go, once someone goes, never returns. And that is his spiritual abode. That's Krishna's spiritual abode. And the third type of karma that I was explaining, karma, vikarma, and akarma. Now, akarma is the third type of category where it is called devotional service or working for the satisfaction of the Lord. By doing that, one can burn good karma and bad karma both. Otherwise, if, say, for example, I do 3 good acts of charity or donations and, helping someone elderly or doing something, so they are good karmas. And if I do couple of bad karmas, and I may think, mathematical calculation, 3 good, 2 bad, still 1 good, so I'm still in positive. So I'm still better. I'm still okay. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So people sometimes do bad activities, or we do bad activities and we think, oh, I've done something really bad. I have, you know, I've broken some rules. I have cheated government. I've not paid my tax. But you see, what I'll do is I'll feed some poor people. I'll give some charity in Red Cross, Noah's Ark. I'll give some money to them. So I will not get the results of the bad activities, or the corrupt activities, or whatever I have done. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately, with karma. With karma, you have to enjoy the good results of what we have done, and we have also to suffer the bad result. They don't somehow counteract each other, or they just don't replace each other. So unfortunately, by performing bhakti, one is able to burn both the results, positive and negative. So sorry, one second. So that is akarma. By performing akarma, one can actually get rid of their pious and impious activities both, and by performing devotional service, one can actually please the Lord. And this is what is Krishna is advising in Bhagavad Gita for us to do, is to engage in akarma or devotional service. Later on in this chapter, we will discuss that more in detail. However, here we can see that in this particular verse, we can see that Krishna ended chapter 2 by the words that this is the way of a spiritual and godly life, after attaining which a man is not bewildered. If one is thus situated, even at the hour of death, one can enter into the kingdom of God. So Krishna is speaking about Gyan Yoga towards the end of chapter 2. Means how can one by intelligence conduct the life. So in the third chapter, there are two types of chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Some chapters we see they start by Arjuna. Like in this chapter, Karma Yoga, the first question is asked by Arjuna, and there are certain chapters which are started by Krishna. There is no much difference, but the questions which are the chapters which are started by Arjuna, they are more sort of that these questions are normally you would find are the questions which we normally have in our minds. So if you carefully analyze the chapters and see, there are certain chapters which start from Arjuna's queries, which are the normal questions we have in our mind. And there are certain chapters which are initiated by Krishna. And these are the chapters which Krishna wants to add on to what Arjuna is asking. So those are the topics which Krishna wants us to know. So I won't go much in detail on that, because otherwise we'll have a different topic to discuss. But in this particular chapter, we see the chapter started with Arjuna's question. He's saying that, O Janardana, O Keshava, why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? And then in this chapter, in this verse, which we are going to study today, which is Vyamishreneva Vakyena Buddhi Mohayasi Vame Tadekam Vada Nishchitya Yena Shreyo Nu Apnuyam. Translation: my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be the most beneficial for me. In the previous chapter, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the previous chapter, as a prelude to the Bhagavad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. This was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparent confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without interpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness, either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, he is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. So these questions, these from chapter 3, Arjuna is asking questions on our behalf. Now, chapter 2, Krishna had summarized the entire Bhagavad Gita. So if you see the question, the chapter 2, contents of Gita summarized. That's the name of the chapter. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is summarized in chapter 2. There is nothing more left for Krishna to say and Arjuna to know. But for us, so that we can understand systematically what Krishna is trying to say, Arjuna has started asking questions from this chapter, which is chapter 3. And one of the main confusion people have, or we all have, on the path of our spiritual life, is what is right thing to do. Is it good to earn? Is it not good to earn? Is it good to donate? How much to donate? What to do? What sort of life to live? Lots of questions we as practicing devotees have in our mind. And those all questions are not concluded or clearly explained by Lord Krishna in chapter 2. So that's why Arjuna started asking questions from this third chapter. Now, here is one common theme that what is renunciation? So is this, if we are devotees and if we are talking about renunciation, does that mean we should give up everything and go to Vrindavan, or we should live in London and work here? Can we still become devotees? So I was hearing Prabhupada's lecture, and Prabhupada was saying in context to this verses that Arjuna was a householder. You know, he had a number of wives, he had kingdom and to rule. And it so happened that when he came to battlefield and when he saw his relatives, especially his grandfather and his teacher, in front of his eyes or ready to fight with him, suddenly he lost his composure. And he thought that the best way to escape from, rather than confrontation in this situation, is that I tell Krishna that, Krishna, look, I will follow my intelligence and avoid the violence. And by avoiding violence, I will become a renunciate, I'll become sadhu, and the whole thing will be avoided. But the Lord did not encourage that to Arjuna, because we all have certain nature, certain propensities. And because of our propensities, if we prematurely try to renounce things, it will not work. Because, you know, sometime, you know, when there is a fight between husband and wife, or you know, there is some issues in the family, or you know, some work, some pressure, one may think, what is the point of this, living a life like this? You know, I might as well better off engaging my life in Krishna's service, give up everything and go and do my bhakti, or maybe go and join the temple, or someone may think, let me go to Vrindavan. But what happens is, if the heart is not pure, or it's not purified and it is not ready, then all those propensities will come out even after going to those places. And then, we would come back to this material, to back to the same situation, and then we'll have to suffer that. So just like an analogy I can give you of a mango, in this material world, we will always have some difficulties, some issues, some problems. But by tolerating, Krishna again and again in Bhagavad Gita says that tam titikshasva bharata. Arjuna, one has to tolerate. He never says in Bhagavad Gita that once you take my shelter, then all your miseries will disappear and you will have, a very peaceful life and you will enjoy all your life. And it will be, he says that one has to learn to tolerate in this material world. The material world is designed as a dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It is designed to give us troubles. But as long as we stay in association of devotees and stay attached to Krishna's lotus feet, all those miseries will look very small to us. When we have someone bigger, the person who you are connected with or who we are connected with, we have to understand how big that person is. Sometimes if we know Prime Minister, and Prime Minister knows you personally, and if you get stuck with something in your life, you can call your friend who's a Prime Minister and say, look, can you help me out with this? And if that Prime Minister is a very good friend of yours, and then he makes a couple of phone calls and you are sorted, so you can imagine a little small contacts like that also can make our life so easy. Imagine the person's name you are chanting, or this Bhagavad Gita you are attending today. Who is that person? He is not an ordinary person. You are directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the owner, proprietor, and creator of entire universe. Multiple universe, entire creation is coming out of him. Everyone, everything, every possible, grain and grain of, and every little twig and grass is controlled, managed, and maintained by that personality of Godhead, who you are, directly now connected with by chanting his holy name. So it is not an ordinary position. If that person, the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna, can maintain so many billions and trillions and gazillions of lives who do not reciprocate back to him in any way or form. So many trees, what are they doing? Any devotional service? No. How many pigeons you see every day? What are they doing? They're just engaged in their sense gratification. So many human beings, 7 billion people on this planet of Earth. How many people are giving something back to Krishna or serving Krishna by even hearing his name, hearing his Bhagavad Gita? All these people are people, animals, living beings are provided profusely to maintain their life, their children, everything he's providing without any expectations. Now someone who takes one step towards him by don't call anyone.
Why? She's my friend.
Yes, I know, but don't call her now.
Why?
So, so what we have got, or the bargain we are into now, is extraordinary opportunity that we are, directly connected to Lord Krishna by chanting the holy name. This Bhagavad Gita is not an ordinary book. It is a conscious knowledge. If you are devotee of Lord Krishna, then only this Bhagavad Gita will give us opportunity to know itself. Otherwise, if someone is inimical or of Krishna, or who does not respect Krishna, he opens Bhagavad Gita, it will bewilder that person. If someone is faithfully serving the Lord and chanting the holy name, that's the only time Bhagavad Gita will reciprocate back. One can understand what is written in Bhagavad Gita. So we are very fortunate that we are directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with His mercy, we are able to learn all this spiritual knowledge. So we should do everything in our possible reach to make the most out of this life and engage more and more in devotional service and serve the Lord. So it's 7:30 already, 8:32. I think if we can have a question answer, or any input from any one of you, then I'll be most grateful. If you want to add something or any questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji, I
Mataji.
put one question. I find it hard to understand what actually is karma itself, the word karma. You were explaining that it is all the pious activities that we do. But I thought that karma was everything combined in one. Anything that we do, any activity that we do is described as a karma. Can you just clarify my doubt, please?
Yes. So in Bhagavad Gita, karma in broad sense, what we use is that general use is like, oh, this is my karma. That's why I'm suffering this. That's what I said. But in Bhagavad Gita, it is categorized in three parts: karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma means activities that are done in junction with scriptures or pious activities. They are called karma. And for doing karma, one has pious results to come. So like it is explained, if someone does 100 horse sacrifices, for example, then he gets the position of Lord Indra in heavenly planet. So if someone does a certain amount of austerities, then they achieve defined results. So that is karma. Then I explained, like vikarma means for conducting any impious activities, like for then that impious activities would lead impious results, or vikarma. And it is very difficult to not do vikarma, because even while breathing, even while walking, cooking, we do so much violence. We think we are vegetarian, so we don't do violence. No, it's not the reality. When we walk, when you take shower in the morning, sometime unaware of little ants or bugs in the bathtub, you just kill them, flood them away. When you are walking, driving, so many things, unknowingly, lot of sinful activities that we perform. So all these things are building constantly in our leisure book, or our count of karmas. But to get rid of all those karma, it is the only process is by chanting the holy name. So Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Only take my shelter. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami mashucha. I will get rid of all your karmas. Otherwise, either we are building positive or negative karma. But and what is that way? How one can take shelter of Krishna? By chanting the holy name. By chanting the holy name constantly, it purifies a person, all of us, that so we can get rid of our negative and positive karma. And as more we chant, the more karmas are burnt, we feel more happier. if we start initially, chanting is very difficult. We don't feel like chanting. The mind is difficult. You know, it is very, very difficult to start off. But as we keep chanting and chanting and chanting, when chant more, then as soon as our karmas start burning and we become lighter and lighter from inside. You know, heart starts purifying. Our speech will purify. Our mind will purify. And someone's mentioned something. Arjuna fighting this war was akarma. Thank you. Yes. So I'll come to that question. So yes. So that way, by performing devotional service for the pleasure of Lord, that whatever activity do we do is akarma. Very nice question here. Someone asked, 1 second. Let me see the questions. Okay. Arjuna fighting this war was akarma. Yes. Although he was killing people, from moral way, if you see, killing is not good. Killing is vikarma. But because it is done for the pleasure of the Lord and under the guidance of Lord, then that is called akarma. That's a devotional service. There's another question. How can we ensure that all our actions are akarma, i.e. for the pleasure of God? When somebody performs devotional service, it can be easily identified as akarma, but when somebody goes out to work, like most people do, for example, in an office, shop, etc., how this to be related to God? Okay, nice question. And yeah, so see, if we see, actually, Krishna is everywhere, you know, and whatever activity that you and me are doing, we are doing according to the nature that we have acquired. You know, so it is very difficult. In this chapter later on, Krishna is saying that for even a second, one cannot live or one cannot maintain without doing any activity. So whatever we do at work, we have to think, I'm Krishna's servant. You know, even if it is your business, even if it is your job, whatever we are doing, we have to think that I am employed here and my master is Krishna. You know, sometimes we think that, oh, I'm working so hard, but my boss is not recognizing it. He's not giving me any rise. He's not giving me any recognition, even if I'm working so hard. But we have to think that I'm not working for this boss. I'm working for the Lord, who is my maintainer. You know, so if he wants, things will happen. So I'll just, if it is very hard to build that consciousness, but if we somehow, you know, able to understand that giver is Krishna and mediums are many, you know, so Krishna can give us through the medium of parents, Krishna can give us through the medium of employers, Krishna can give us through the medium of government grants or whatever, every way anyone helps you, ultimately that comes from Krishna. You know, so when we work, we have to work hard to please Krishna, although that is our job. Sometimes it is not possible to, you know, hear kirtan or chanting when you are doing your work. You know, like suppose you are a doctor, you are performing a surgery, very critical surgery, and you have to focus your full attention, your concentration to make sure that, you know, you are doing your duty right. So that is also doing it diligently for the pleasure of the Lord is important. You know, because whatever duty one has to do, like Arjuna had to fight, you know, fight with full, you know, full fierce, you know, mindset. He was not fighting like, oh, Hare Krishna, one arrow here, one arrow there. No, he was fighting with full focus. He did not have time to even look left and right. And you know why it is more, Krishna is more appreciated to become his charioteer. Because when a warrior is fighting, the warrior is so engrossed in fighting that he does not have time to tell his charioteer, come on, go left, right, stop, front. The charioteer has charioteer when he's riding, the warrior kicks him on his back. So if he's kicked 2 times on the right hand side, means he wants to go, he wants the chariot to go on the right side for 2 meters, for example. If he kicks on the left hand side for 2 times, that means the warrior wants to go in the left direction for say 2 meters or whatever the measurement is. And then if he kicks in the middle, that means stop, or 2 times kick is go. So I'm just saying it could be different, but the warrior would kick because the mind is fully focused in shooting arrows. One arrow is missed, they can get killed. Hundreds of people are shooting arrows and bludgeons and different weapons at that warrior. Hundreds and thousands of people dying at the same time in front of their eyes. So many massacre is happening. Can you imagine that state of mind? How attentive and how focused Arjuna had to be on the battlefield. And so sometime in our jobs we have to be like that, and that is also a service to Krishna. But when we switch off from our work, we should immediately switch off, means then our devotional lives should immediately start. Kirtan in the evening, you come home, after cooking, if you have to cook, if you don't have to cook, or you have your prasadam, spend some time in the evening, play some kirtan. If you play some instrument, play instrument. Have a routine that 8:30 in the night you will sit down and read some Bhagavad Gita, some Bhagavatam or Ramayana, whatever. Make a routine. If you make a routine, it is so pleasing in the night. When we sometime, I try to do this routine sometime in the evening when I after 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I play some instruments, and then literally when I'm playing instruments and doing kirtan, I feel from the back of my neck, all my spine is just releasing slowly. And sometimes I feel so sleepy while doing kirtan, because the body completely relaxed by chanting, by this sound vibration. The whole day is running around, work pressure, tensions, commute pressures, everything. When you are in the evening, sitting in front of your altar or from your deities or Krishna's picture, you have light on Krishna, you're focused, looking at the deities, singing, and then whole body relax, and it gives such a amazing connection to the Lord, and it relaxes your mind so nicely. So I recommend all of you to please do that if you can. Oh, there are a few questions here now. What is the difference in free will and karma? Free will is ability to choose. So whether to eat meat, whether to not eat meat, whether to do Ekadashi, whether to not do Ekadashi, whether to go to temple or whether to go to club, whether to do this, whether to do that. So when you have 2 options and you choose one option, that is your free will. And karma, it comes following the free will. So based on what you choose, the reaction that you will get. Tata will give you. So, so karma follows the free will. Okay, how do we know if people are using free will or it is other person's karma when someone is being cruel? So if, as I understand, if someone is being cruel to us, is it what it means? Whether it is our free will or other person's karma when someone is being cruel. So when, see, free will allows us to choose, make choices in our life. There are not many choices though. It feels like there are lots of choices, but very limited choices. But our whatever we are suffering, sometimes we think the person is responsible, but it is not person. Person is just a medium. It is our karma who is, serving that on the plate to us. So for example, I'll give you an example of say plane journey, flight journey. If you have credits only, enough money to buy economy class ticket or buy business class ticket or first class ticket. So the plane is same, but the seats are in different place and the food is served differently, right? So the economy class gets different food, the business class gets different food served, and first class gets different food served on the same plate or on the same plane. Now the server may be the same. The server maybe she may have served in first class, then come and served in business class, and then to economy class. But the food she's serving is different to everyone. Now, someone in first class may think, such a wonderful person, gave me amazing plate full of wonderful food. And the economy class may think, how horrible this person is, given me very bad food, tasteless, cold. So the server is not, we are getting what we have paid for. We are getting back what we have paid for. We are not, it's not the server who is the issue. It's what we are, what we have paid for it. So similarly, what we are suffering in this life, it is what we have previously paid for. And the suffering is coming through different channels. People think that, we normally think that, oh, this person is problem. Let me get rid of this person. Let me, find another partner. Let me find someone else. And that person will give me more happiness. But because the karma is not going to leave us, you can change the person, but the misery will come from that side as well. So whatever we have to suffer is not coming from the person. It is coming from our karma. And we think that it is the person. We blame people. Oh, my father was really bad. He was very my uncle was really bad. My teacher was really bad. My father-in-law was terrible. So we find different ways. We find mediums. We blame mediums, but they are not the problem. The problem is because my karma was bad, this came to me. Medium could be anything. Medium does not matter. I paid the economy class ticket. I only had credits. I only earned so much to get a flight economy ticket. Then I'm going to get economy food, not going to get business class or first class. Thank you for above. The Draupadi wanted to kill the enemies and she wanted the war. Was this vikarma or karma for her? Right. So Draupadi was humiliated, and it was not her fault. Draupadi she wanted revenge for what had happened to her. She was disrobed. She was stripped in front of the whole assembly. Now, if you see, Draupadi was not an ordinary person. Even everyone has dignity and they have respect, and nobody like to be treated the way Draupadi was treated. If someone even looks at us angrily, we will remember for the rest of our life, that I went to temple on Janmashtami and that Prabhu was standing near the so-and-so main tent, and I smiled at him, and he looked angrily at me and turned the face away. And that I will remember for rest of my life. Even next 10 Janmashtami, he smiles at me, but I remember this Janmashtami. Now see, such a small insult, we remember for rest of our life and we dwell on it. Draupadi, she was first of all not an ordinary person. She never was born as a baby. Most of you would know that her father Drupada did a yagya. Sorry, I'm conscious of time that we are just over 5 minutes. So those, I request you that if you want to, I won't take more than 10 minutes, but if you want to leave, if you have any other commitments, please feel free to leave. And those who want to stay back, you are also most welcome. I'll try to just quickly cover these questions, couple of questions on here, and I will conclude. And Divyanam Prabhu had also asked me to remind you that if anyone wants to sponsor any Srimad Bhagavatam set, Bhadra Purnima is coming closer. It's on 28th of September. So if you want to gift, or if you don't have at your home, and if you want to buy, or then please do it before Bhadra Purnima. It's the most auspicious day to buy and share Srimad Bhagavatam. So please contact Divyanam Prabhu if you want to have Srimad Bhagavatam. So going back to Draupadi and her brother Drupad, they were born from a fire sacrifice. So King Drupad had done a big sacrifice just to take revenge on Dronacharya, and he wanted the outcome from that sacrifice, a son who could have powers to kill Dronacharya. Because it's a long story, I won't be able to cover that. Dronacharya was insulted by Drupad, and when Dronacharya, who was teacher of Pandavas, he asked Pandavas that if you want to pay back my teachings, then as a Guru Dakshina, you go and bring Drupad here like an animal. So 5 Pandavas, they went and they brought Drupad, and they held him like an animal and brought him back. Only 5, they won over Drupad's kingdom. It was very big kingdom, and Drupad was very powerful king. So when Drupad was dragged and brought to Dronacharya, Drupad also became his ego was hurt, and he thought that I don't have any child, but I want a son now who would kill this Dronacharya. And then in his mind, he also desired that when he fought with Arjuna, when he saw Arjuna, he was very attracted. And by looks, beauty of Arjuna and his his powers and his personality. And in his mind, Drupada thought, if I had a daughter, I would make him my son-in-law. So when he did yajna, the Lord fulfilled both the desires. So he got son, Drushtadhyumna, with the abilities to kill Dronacharya and with powers. And he got a daughter, Draupadi. So she was born straight from yajna. She was very beautiful. She had dark complexion, and she had, exquisite features, very beautiful. And she was, she was demigoddess, and she was brought up and treated like princess all her life. Her husbands were most powerful 5 warriors, fighters. She was respected as a queen of Indraprastha. And when she was dragged out, she was in her, menstrual cycles. She was taking rest. Her hair were open. That where she was dragged in that state with, improper clothing on her body. She was dragged through the palace with her hair, pulled, and very, very insulting way. She was brought to assembly, and they called her prostitute, and they called her to sit on their laps. Duryodhan and Karna, Dushasan tried to disrobe her to, every single worst thing you can think of, Draupadi went through. And if anyone had gone through that traumatic experience, would, desire that way. And Krishna, when he came to see Draupadi after that whole incident in the forest, Draupadi started crying, and she told Krishna that, Krishna, I am your devotee. How did you not come to protect me at that time? And of course, there is Krishna gave wonderful explanation how her dependencies were in different places and not in Krishna. And then Krishna ultimately came when she called out for Krishna. She did not call out for Krishna in the beginning. She called last. That's why Krishna came last. And Krishna has promised her that those who were present in that assembly and have seen and not done anything, I will vanish them all from this earth. And that's when she got really peace in her heart. Krishna said to her, this is my promise, that whoever has insulted you will not remain on this planet earth. I will finish them all. And then when after 13 years were over, and when Krishna became the peace messenger for Pandavas, Draupadi became very concerned. Draupadi said, "What about your promise? You told me that you're going to, vanish or clean them all, kill them. And now you're going as a peace messenger, and you are such a wonderful, eloquent speaker. If you ask them to not fight, they will get agreed to it, and they will not fight, and they will ask for peace. Then what will happen to my vows? My hair will remain untied or for rest of my life. What will happen to Bhima's vows, Arjuna's vows, all the brothers' vows to kill different people?" So Krishna then said to her that my promise never fails. I am doing what just to make sure that we take all possible ways by following dharma. Because in the future, people should not say that Pandavas were revengeful, and as soon as they came back, they attacked and they got their kingdom back. So there's a long story in Mahabharata. I cannot go in detail, but yes. So what Draupadi did was not Vikarma. She was actually insulted and humiliated very badly. So Krishna promised her that he would, bring her the justice. The last question, it was mentioned that those who perform good karma go to heaven, Svargloka. There are the planets above Svargloka, such as Satyaloka, Taploka, etc. What actions result in people going to these higher planets? Good karma or akarma? Yeah, so those who do tapa, or there are different processes Krishna has explained earlier. So those who are sages who meditate on the form of the Lord, they go to the planets of sages. So Taploka, Maharloka, Janloka, and Satyaloka, all these sages are the planets of different type of sages. Those who perform very severe austerities, meditation, they go onto those planets. And when there is a night of Lord Brahma, there is a partial annihilation. So all the planets under Brahmaloka, they get destroyed when Brahmaji sleeps, and when he wakes up in the morning, Brahmaji creates them again. But what happens to these three levels below Satyaloka, Janlok, Taplok, and Maharlok? The sages from those planets or planets, they go to Satyaloka and they stay there. They don't get annihilated all the time. But those are the planets of great sages, and sages are more powerful than demigods because sages have sense control. This is one thing we have to remember. Controlling senses is more important than enjoying the senses, because sages are considered more powerful, like Indra and all these big demigods, sun god, and they all are very powerful, but they still are disciples of Brihaspati, who is a sage, and they worshipped and respect sages because these sages are very learned and very renounced. Renunciation is a very big opulence. Someone like who has renounced everything, he's glorified by people who are even the demigods. So sannyasis are considered are equal to Narayana. Why? Because they have renounced this world. So renunciation is the biggest opulence amongst all opulences. Okay, so it is 9 o'clock. So I thank you for your attention and for your questions. And please bless me so that I can serve you in the future as well. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo nama. If I've said something,
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Dandvat Pranam.
Dandvat Pranam.
Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class.